I'll be teaching you how to use a digital camera today. I'm using a Canon Rebel XTI. Your model might be slightly different, but the functions will still be the same. The first thing I'll be teaching you how to do is how to hold your camera correctly. You always want a level surface for your camera so your pictures come out level and there's very little blurring. So what you do is you take your non-dominant hand, you set your camera on top of it, you cradle it gently in the palm of your hand, and you make sure your fingers can still reach the lens. Do the same thing for a vertical shot. You just turn the camera like this, cradle it in the palm of your hand, and make sure your fingers can still reach the lens. Two things you'll want to know how to do is how to pop up your flash and how to change your lens. So how to pop up your flash is you simply turn your camera to the side, and right before the lens there's a small button. So all you simply do is press that button and your flash will pop up. To change your lens, you never ever want to pull on the lens and just try to rip it away from the body, because that will damage both your lens and the camera. You simply go to the large black button right beside the lens and you press that down, and then you gently unscrew the lens. And if you look on the inside, there's little sensors on both the inside of the lens and on the inside of the camera. You never want to touch these or expose them to light for very long, because it will ruin your camera and your lens. So you always want to change your lens very quickly and put caps over both your lens and your camera if you won't be using them. All digital cameras come with a certain amount of settings, and all those settings are on this little knob right here. Yours might be slightly different, but for mine, the first setting is A-depth, which means automatic depth of field, which means the camera automatically sets the aperture for you. The setting after that is M for manual, which means you can physically go in and change all the individual settings yourself, like ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. Setting after that is AV for aperture focus, which means you automatically get to set the aperture to whatever you would like, and the camera will adjust the rest of the settings for you, like ISO and shutter speed. The setting after that is P, which means the camera will automatically set your ISO and aperture for you. But if you have a specific ISO or aperture in mind that you want to use, you can use this toggle right here and select the ISO or aperture that you would like. The setting after that is a little green square called for auto, and auto means that the camera will take care of all the settings for you: aperture, ISO, shutter speed, and you won't have to worry about any of that. That's typically a good setting for instances when you're trying to take a lot of pictures in a very short amount of time and you don't have to mess with individual settings yourself. The icon after that is a little head, and that is the portrait setting for taking portraits of individual people. Setting after that is a little mountain for landscape shooting. And that's good for landscapes and overall shots, but not very good for motion. The setting after that is flower. And the flower setting is good for taking up close, really detailed shots of objects. The setting after that is a little running man, and that's for motion shots or motion pictures of objects in motion. The setting after that is a little man with a little star, and that's for night photos. That will usually pop up your flash. The setting after that is a little arrow with a cross through it, and that is for turning your flash off completely. One thing you can change on your camera is how many pictures it takes when you hold down your shutter button, either an individual shot or continuous shots. And continuous shots allow you to take multiple pictures when you hold down your shutter button like this, which allows you to capture fast motion or fast action. You'll typically want continuous shots for your shooting at Cronkite News Service. So how you adjust that is you set your camera on manual or M, and then you go to the icon of little multiple squares and you push the button above that, and then you use the arrow keys to move over to the icon of multiple squares, and you select that for continuous shooting. Another setting that you can change is white balance, and white balance helps determine the color that your photo turns out. In most instances, you want to have auto white balance, where the camera automatically determines the white balance of your photos. But in some instances where you're going into odd lighting situations, like going into a gym that has tungsten lighting or a classroom with fluorescent lighting, you'll want to adjust the white balance settings so your pictures aren't off color. And how you do that is go to the little arrow above WB or white balance, you click on that, and then you move the little icon over to the lighting selection that would best suit your picture taking environment. And it has multiple offerings including cloudy, tungsten lighting, fluorescent lighting, bright daylight, and other options that you can choose. Now I'll be showing you other settings you can adjust under manual, including shutter speed. Your shutter speed is indicated in the top left-hand corner of your camera display. Shutter speed is from the moment you push down on your shutter button to the time that the camera actually takes the photo. Now, 1/60 is ideal for capturing motion. Anything above that, like 150, requires a tripod because any slight motion will result in your picture blurring. But anything lower than 160, like 180, does not need a tripod for capturing photos. Another setting you can adjust under manual is ISO. And ISO determines the sensitivity of your camera to light, ranging from 100 to 1600. 1600 being the most sensitive, 100 being the least sensitive. So you would use 100 on a bright, clear, cloudless day, and 1600 in a dark room. And how you can tell what ISO your camera is set at is by looking in the top right-hand corner of your camera's display. And you change your ISO by going to the arrow button beneath ISO, pushing down on that, and then arrowing over to the number that best suits your situation. And now, the lower the number, the less grain you'll have in your picture. But if you're in a dark situation, it's better to have higher grain and higher brightness in your photos. Another setting that can be adjusted under manual is aperture. And aperture determines the amount of light that comes into your camera as well as the depth of field of your photos. And aperture is measured in f-stop. So the lower your f-stop is, the more light you're allowing into your camera. And how you adjust your aperture is push the button above the AV icon and then hold down the AV button and move the toggle right in front of the shutter button, right or left, and you'll be able to see the aperture f-stop adjusting on your display on the top middle of your camera display. Another important feature of your digital camera is the meter line. And the meter line tells you exactly how well exposed your photo is going to be. And you can see your meter line in both your viewfinder and in the middle of your digital display. Now, there's a little arrow beneath the meter line, and that tells you how your settings are right now on the meter line. So if it's exactly in the middle of the meter line, that means your photo is going to be perfectly exposed. If your arrow is to the right of the meter line, that means your photo is overexposed, and you need to either lower your ISO, increase your aperture, or change your shutter speed. If it's to the left on the meter line, that means your photo is going to be underexposed, and you need to increase your ISO, decrease your aperture, or alter your shutter speed. And that will ensure you take a perfectly exposed picture. Another adjustment you can make is focus point. Focus point determines what area the picture is going to be in focus. Typically, when you first get your camera, the focus point is going to be in the center of your viewfinder. To change this, go to the icon that looks like a window in the top right-hand corner of your camera and press the button beneath that. That will pop up a grid on your photo display. To change your focus point, use the arrow keys to select which area of the grid you want the focus point to be at. Don't forget to change your focus point later on when you're taking other pictures.